everybody, welcome to the Sharon and Joe Show. My name is Sharon.
My name is Joe.
We make videos together most Mondays on all things related to narcissism from both a male and a female perspective. Both of us were married to narcissists for almost 20 years. Now we're in a fulfilling and loving relationship together, and we want to help those who are still in the grips of narcissistic abuse find their way to freedom as well. In today's video, we're going to discuss how many narcissists use law enforcement to further their abuse of you. Unfortunately, this happened to both Joe and I several times, and in today's video, we're going to talk a little bit about what happened and why it happens. So Joe, why don't you go ahead and get the ball rolling? Can you tell us what happened to you? How did your ex use law enforcement against you?
Well, every time it definitely was some kind of a dispute verbally. Usually something that, your partner shouldn't be doing, like go missing for like 2 or 3 days, and then I had something to say about it. A lot of times it was, well, every time I could tell you, not a lot, it was all about control. Sometimes it was just used as a discard method to get me out of the picture so she could have an affair. Other times it was to put me in my place and I'll show you and get back in your cage kind of deal. So it was definitely her weapon of choice. You know how you say like your ex, like the silent treatment, like really got you? Her weapon of choice was that. And I've seen how there's a prejudice when it comes to males in a relationship. I mean, even that term battered wife syndrome, like that doesn't have anything to do with the male. It's like the female, and it's just contempt prior to investigation. You're handcuffed first, ask questions later, got to hire an attorney, got to miss work. If we want to be done right away, it's a fine, and we'll drop it down to a 3rd degree or 4th degree misdemeanor kind of deal instead of a domestic violence. And, you guys, we're going to, there's many times where I want to tell a friend, like, here's my suggestion, this is what you want to do, but they're going to do what they want to do anyways. I was told so many times by close friends and loved ones, I need to get the hell out of there. I didn't know that I was addicted to this thing. I didn't know anything about codependence and reliving childhood trauma and trying to fulfill something that happened to me that went unfulfilled when I was growing up in my life. I chased this to the gates of insanity, almost death, and definitely my freedom many times was threatened. So I could get into details about everyone, but the bottom line is that the only times I was ever arrested within his last 20 years, even my entire life, had to do with false allegations from her.
Yeah, it's disgusting. I don't even know what else to say other than that. Joe had the experience, obviously, from a male, and there definitely is a prejudice in that way, because he's right. You hear about a battered wife or a battered woman. You never hear about a battered husband or a battered man or a man who's abused. I mean, it's not... There really is a difference. And I know I've gotten comments from people and emails from men who have said that this has happened to them, and it's horrible.
Yeah, and let me add, you guys, like, I'm a 6'2" ex-football player. Like, any time within this relationship, I could have snapped her neck with one hand. I look back now, and I had been gaslighted so bad that I was going to counseling because I really thought that I was this mental and verbally abusive person. I never touched her, and I know that the abuse that I underwent was all emotional, psychological, mental. So I do believe in that. But it had like brainwashed me so bad that I really thought there was something wrong with me. And it's very embarrassing. Like, if you saw me, you wouldn't be like, come on, you big sissy, or nothing like that. You'd think twice. But I have as I said, it's just very embarrassing. It's humiliating. And then how do you explain to somebody like that doesn't know anything about codependency or a narcissistic abuse being very much like an addiction? Even psychologists, psychiatrists, scientists, doctors have looked at the brain patterns and the serotonin levels similar to that of a heroin addict going into withdrawals. So how do you tell somebody, like, you need to go, and then if I stay, then I'm at fault anyways, Yeah, it was embarrassing, humiliating. And the thing is, I didn't talk about it too much. Like I had one or two very, very close friends that kind of knew what was going on, but it was from like they knew what was going on. I didn't tell them. Like they would call me on it. They say, "Joe, what the hell are you doing? You're gonna risk your freedom with this nut. Leave." Well, I got two little children, and this nut is a psychopath, and she's a drug addict, and I'm not going to leave my boys. So I remember, you guys, there'd be so many times she would get on the phone and threaten to call the police, and I would beg her, please, please, please don't. The one time she had an affair, and it was just like a discard, like, well, if I call the police and say he did this, this, and this, then I get to have my affair. Then when I get sick of him, I'll call him back, and here I come with my tail between my legs, saying I'm sorry for her affair, just still blind to the fact that I was codependent from childhood trauma.
You know, the thing about narcissists is that at its core, narcissism is all about control. They want to control us. I've said before in my videos, it's almost like, we're animals in a cage and we're not allowed to leave our cage. They do not care what they say. There's no repercussions, nothing. In my situation, my ex tried to get me arrested. Joe's sitting here talking about how, as a man, he looks guilty because he's so much bigger. In my situation, because of that very prejudice, I didn't get arrested because my ex tried to accuse. Now, it wasn't true. He tried to accuse me of domestic violence. He told the police. I called the police. I was the one who called the police. He frightened me. I called the police. And then he insisted, to the point of actually filing a false police report against me, that I abused him. Now, nobody believed him because he was so much bigger than me. But, I had said to Joe so many times, and this is true, if I had accused him of domestic violence, it doesn't matter if it's true or not, he certainly would have gotten arrested. I mean, absolutely. I'm sure you agree.
Yeah, there was a contempt prior to investigation. I remember going up in front of the judge the one time. I had my closest friends and family with me, and he laid into me before the charges were even they were read. It was just, I was guilty until proven innocent. And then it's like, okay, do I have another $3,000 to spend on a lawyer, or do I want to have it drop down to like a disorderly conduct, get it the hell behind me? Yeah, it's definitely a huge problem with that. And the only solution is to get the hell out of there. But that's easier said than done. I was blinded to my own enemy, which was my emotional thinking.
The thing is, though, like I said, so I know men are much more likely to be arrested, but in my situation, I mean, it's not just men. I actually had the issue where my ex tried to get me arrested. Nobody believed him. So the police officers at my home told me they knew it wasn't true. They knew he was filing a false police report. That led to CPS coming to my house. So my ex lied about me. He literally filed a false police report against me. Everybody, all the police officers that were in my house, I can't remember now, it was 3 or 4 of them were there. They all told me they knew he was lying. The Child Protective Services investigator came to my home. I was the one that was in trouble. And she said to me, I know this isn't true. However, once there's an allegation against somebody, we have to do our due diligence and follow through with the investigation. So my kids had to be interviewed on a lie. I had to be interviewed on a lie. And not only that, I mean, this took 2 months. I had to go through the embarrassment. Joe's talking about the embarrassment, how it was embarrassing, being arrested. Yeah, that's horrible. That is embarrassing. I get that. I was embarrassed, and I had to have my friends interviewed by CPS about my parenting skills when it was all a lie. Now, in Joe's case and in my case, our exes didn't get into trouble. She wasn't, your ex wasn't having legal issues. My ex wasn't having his friends interviewed. It's disgusting.
Yeah, there was a point in time, you guys, earlier on where I was actually considering getting into education. I wanted to get my PhD in English and teach at a university. And the misdemeanors, even when I went into nursing school and stuff like that, they were there to contend with, and a lot of paperwork and jumping hoops, trying to explain to people, you know, what had happened. Is very embarrassing. It follows me to this day sometimes, I feel. Another thing I wanted to mention too, Sharon, is like, they have a utter disregard for the consequences. And I don't mean consequences for them. Like, in my case, I was the breadwinner of the family. Like, I was the one that was paying the mortgage and the electric and the gas and all that other stuff. Like, my family's well-being, my children, they depended and counted on me to keep furthering my career and going to work to pay bills. None of that was even taken into consideration. Like, well, he's going to be in jail for 4 days until Monday or Tuesday, because Monday's President's Day. And okay, and he's going to have to call his work and say he's in jail, and he might lose his job. Like, none of that is taken into consideration as far as, like, when it comes to the children or anybody else. They don't even think about it. They just, whatever it is that they want to do to get control of the situation and to manipulate and warp reality. And until I was ready, as long as I was in this entanglement, she was able to many times to manipulate and warp reality. It seems insane because nobody can, but I was a willing participant in that, as far as allowing her to rewrite the narrative. You know, it was nuts.
You know, the thing is, too, when you deal with these situations, it seems like a lot of times, Joe and I are thinking about doing, so let us know if you want us to do this, a second video talking about some of the solutions. I've had the issue where, you know, furthering, you know, speaking about law enforcement, where my ex didn't get in trouble for when he was breaking the law. Like, my ex was drunk driving. I mean, he was passed out. I mean, this is the thing. He was passed out with the key in the ignition with a loaded gun on the seat next to him. It is against the law. I mean, that's drunk driving, when you have the key in the ignition, and you cannot be intoxicated with a loaded weapon next to you. He was not arrested. The police took pity on him. They believed. Now, he never said this. They said they believed, they gave him this information that, you know, he was going to take his own life, that he was, you know, poor guy, you know, who's so depressed, he's having some issues. He did not get in trouble. My kids and I suffered from this, just like Joe saying. He and his kids suffered.
It's frustrating because they manipulate your family, your friends, and then you get pissed off at your family and your friends and the police. But at the same time, like, if I'm being semi-honest with myself, they manipulated me for 20 years. So when I get upset at, like, the people that believe them, at least for a certain point in time, they do. Usually there's a saying you guys probably heard is, lies run sprints, but the truth runs marathons. After a while, the truth does come to light, but I get upset with these people that they're snowballing. But then I look at myself and say, well, I've been snowballed for 20 years. How could I be pissed off at some stranger that doesn't know this person? You know, they don't know nothing about narcissism and all this crap.
Yeah, that's the thing that's difficult. And, you know, like I said, Joe and I are thinking about doing another video with the solution. But I think, you know, part of the problem, just to, you know, talk a little bit about that now, and it's frustrating, but, you know, narcissistic personality disorder is a recognized disorder, whether it's a mental illness or, you know, a personality problem, whatever it is, it's recognized. It's a real thing. But it doesn't seem like the people in control of our safety, of public safety, have any awareness on this. It's just, okay, this happened, so we'll just do this. Oh, poor guy, he must be thinking about taking his life. It doesn't matter what has happened, what I say, what Joe says, what anybody says. People are too willing just to have things very much on the surface. You know, it makes it nice and neat. You know, here's my ex drunk, passed out with a loaded gun. Well, it makes it easier in the police report to say that this was somebody who was considering taking their own life. We send him to the mental hospital. You know, here, just sign right here. Same thing. You know, with Joe, here he is. He was not abusing somebody. But instead, they make it so that he's forced to kind of be like, well, all right, I'm going to sign here so he doesn't pay $3,000 and lose all this time at work, and it's crazy.
Well, not only that, but the crazy part is then afterwards, I wind up apologizing for something I didn't even do. And then I'm going to, like, I wasn't forced to go to counseling or anything like that. I went because I truly thought like I was emotionally and like mentally abusive. I was just like, so the counseling I did need for my childhood trauma, I was gaslit into thinking that, you know, I'm the bad guy here and I want to address this. And I've always been, I love learning about myself and thank God, because that's how I learned about my codependency, my own trauma. But I was like, man, if I'm abusive and mentally and I'm being a bully to my family, like I really want to understand that. So I was all upside down, man. I was gaslit, Jesus, from here to Timbuktu.
You know, I've told Joe before this, and I know a lot of you know Joe through the channel, and Joe is the kindest, gentlest, sweetest, loving man ever. I am so lucky to be in a relationship with him. He's wonderful. And he's told me about this, about how he believed, like, and I get this, I get this. He believed he was abusive and he was going to counseling on a lie. These people twist us inside. Like we're not, our life is in shambles. We don't know what's real. I was telling Joe a little while ago, my ex had me so convinced that people didn't like me. So here's Joe, right? Here's Joe convinced that he must be abusive, so he's going to counseling. I was so convinced my ex would always tell me that people didn't like me. And, you know, Joe can talk to you about this now. I can talk about what happened to me now when I understand what was really happening. But we really believed these things. This affected my life. I didn't want to do play dates with my kids because I didn't want to be around the other mothers. I told Joe it was so bad. I ended up getting social anxiety. Like I was paranoid. I didn't even want to call and make like a doctor's appointment just to do something like that. I didn't want to talk to anybody else. I really believed this. These people are disgusting. And when this happens to you, you're so traumatized. It takes a miracle to get out of this situation. It really does. So when you have somebody falsely accusing you of a crime, and you know, you don't even know, you're in shock. You don't even know what to do. It's not until later. And this is where Joe and I are trying to make this video to have you aware of some of the things that narcissists do. It's insane. It really is. And you know, like I said, we're going to, I guess I've said this 3 times now, we're going to talk about a solution as it goes further. But I want to tell you some of the things that narcissists do. It's not just that they'll accuse you of domestic violence or try to get you arrested. They'll do things like file frivolous lawsuits. You know, anything to punish you, anything to make you have to pay money. False accusations, entrapment, senseless motions, hearings. Joe's experiencing this right now with his divorce. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, about a year and a half ago, back in June, it's actually coming up to 2 years. She had demanded, this is after I have two children. Her mother was living with us, and she had stolen money out of my bank account. We had a separate from my business account, and I didn't know who took it, so I called up the bank, and they were going to press charges. So she came clean because she didn't want to get arrested. She knew she'd get caught. I called up the bank, drop it. 3 days later, she did the same thing. So we finally kicked her out. She demanded, like 2 weeks later, a lump sum of money with what she wanted, and that she wanted to get, I don't think, a disillusionment or something like that. And I agreed to it. We had a sign notarized by a lawyer, witnessed, everything went well. And here we are almost 2 years later. She's trying to dispute it, saying that she was on drugs and therefore it shouldn't count. So many, many, many months and a lot more money being spent on this. And this lump sum and what we agreed to left me broke with 2 kids, no car, and her mother living at home with 2 cats and a dog. But I was willing to do it to get this over with. And then when she reneged on it, and just more threats, and now she's changed her mind, she wants this, this, and this. It has been like, it was a roller coaster there for a while.
So there you go, guys. A little bit of a touch of what a narcissist can do with law enforcement. Joe and I are going to continue on with this. It's either going to be next week or the week after. But in the meantime, I would really love it if you would tell us any issues that you have had, because Joe and I really want to try to have the solution. What can be done about this? Because this type of thing, it's not unusual what happened to Joe and I. I know many of you listening are nodding your heads. Yeah, this happened to me too. Or this happened to somebody I know. What can we do? Joe and I really want to try to make a difference and not just talk about, different things that narcissists do, but what we can do to enhance our life and move forward and help other people who are suffering. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I hope everybody has a wonderful week. I will see you on Wednesday, and hopefully Joe will be back with me next week and we can continue with this discussion. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.